Ready for Shabbat? I know I'm kind of ready for Shabbat. It's been a long week. So I hope that you've got your adult nearby in case you're going to light actual candles. And let's go ahead and get started. We've got a story, we've got some songs, kind of like we usually do. I have my wooden Shabbat set so that I don't make a mess in my office. And we can go ahead and get started. So we usually get started by welcoming each other. So we'll go ahead and welcome each other now. We usually do that with Hine Ma Tov. But it's Shabbat, so this week we'll just greet each other with Bim Bam, Shabbat Shalom. Bim Bam, Bim 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 Bam, Bim 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 Bam, Chiri Biri Biri Bim Bam, Bim 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 Bam, Bim 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 Bim. Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Oh, hold on a second. Now, you can say hey after I say Shabbat Shalom, right? It's just hard for me to say hey, Shabbat Shalom, keep playing the guitar and clap. You can even clap. So let's try that again. Shabbat Shalom, hey, Shabbat Shalom, hey, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, hey, Shabbat Shalom, hey, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Bim Bam, Bim 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 Bam, Bim 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 Bam, Chiri Biri Biri Bim Bam, Bim 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 Bam, Bim 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 Bam. So, since we're starting Shabbat, I hope that you've had a good week. I know it's been, if you live near Washington, D.C., where Mahar is, it's been a rainy week. And the temperature's been all over the place. It was kind of warm at the beginning of the week, and now it's kind of chilly toward the end of the week, and it's been rainy, and there was some flooding and all kinds of other stuff. Shabbat's a nice time for us to kind of take a break and not worry about all of that stuff too much if we don't have to. Which is really the goal of Shabbat, is to make our day a little bit different from Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. Make our day a little bit different. This weekend will be even more different because the clocks turn back. Really at about 2 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, the clocks turn back. It'll be November 1st. And 2 days from then, on the 3rd, there'll be a national election, which a lot of people are worried about. Some people aren't worried about. So it's a really stressful time, and Shabbat's a good time to just de-stress a little bit, right? To just remember that we have people around us, friends and family and neighbors and other people that we hope are there for us no matter what. So I hope that you do have people who are there for you no matter what. I'm here for you no matter what, although it might be hard for you to get in touch with me sometimes because we can't all be in the same place at the same time right now. And that's a really unfortunate thing. But it's more important that you stay healthy than that you see everybody all the time in person. So I hope that you're staying healthy too. So we did our Bim Bam Shabbat Shalom song to kind of greet each other and to remember that it is Shabbat. Shabbat's happening now. There is a song that I don't think we've done yet for Fast Friday Shabbat. And in part we haven't done it yet because there's a lot of Hebrew in it. But you know what we'll do is we'll do just one line of Hebrew this week and then we'll add to it next week. So that song is called Lachadodi. And a lot of people, a lot of synagogues all over the world sing Lachadodi and have for a very long time. And what Lecha Dodi does is it asks, it's us asking our friends, our family, to come along and welcome Shabbat. So we'll learn a melody, the tune to sing the Lecha Dodi part with, and we'll learn a nigun, right? Just the tune, the melody itself that we can kind of lie with. And we can start learning that song that helps us welcome Shabbat. If you want to hear the whole song, encourage your adult to help you log on to our Kabbalat Shabbat on Friday evenings at 6:30, because we usually do the whole song. We do it in a couple of different melodies. But we'll just pick the one and we'll learn it a little bit today, and we'll sort of add as we go. Because there is Hebrew and it can be complicated to learn Hebrew. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la. Do it again, one more. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la. So Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala, come my beloved, which means my friend, my relative, come my beloved, and let's greet Likrat Kala, the Sabbath bride. Penei Shabbat Nekabla, let's welcome Shabbat. Let's accept that it's time for Shabbat. So it's a song for welcoming Shabbat, and it kind of imagines that Shabbat is a Sabbath queen, which is something that ancient Jewish mystics found very persuasive, and that lots of other Jews do too, because it's a really nice image, a way of welcoming Shabbat that makes it feel like a little bit more than just a day on a calendar. So I like that song particularly too, and there's lots of melodies for Lachadodi. So our story today, we have another fable. We've done some fables before. We'll do another fable today. So our fable today is called The King and the Rabbi. And again, adults, honey on the page is what this is from. And this is a folktale, fable, wonder tale kind of thing, which is a particular way of telling stories that make people seem very clever in Yiddish literature. So this is a Yiddish story originally. And it goes like this. Once upon a time in a faraway land lived a king. An old man came to him in a dream and said, "Your Highness, something terrible is going to befall you, and the only one who can save you is a man who was born in the same year, in the same month, and on the same day as you." As soon as the king awoke, he gave an order to search in all the cities and all the towns of his kingdom for a man who was born in the same year, in the same month, and on the same day as he. They searched in every corner of the kingdom but couldn't find such a man, and then suddenly word was brought to the king that somewhere in a far-flung town lived a Jew who was born in the very same year, the very same month, the same day as the king, and even at the very same hour. He was a famous tzaddik, a rabbi known for his wisdom and kindness. The king was overjoyed, and he suddenly felt the urge to lay eyes on the man who could save him from the grave danger. He mounted a horse and set out for the Jew's town, and he traveled alone in disguise, without an entourage. Arriving in town, he began to ask after the man by name, to find out where he lived. He was shown to a little hut at the edge of town, and he entered and saw how poverty blew like a wind into all the corners. He asked of the woman who was there, "Where is your husband?" And she replied, "He's sitting and studying Torah in the study house." So the king went to the study house, and as soon as he'd crossed the threshold, an old man approached him and recited a blessing overseeing royalty. The king wondered how the old man recognized him, and the tzaddik said, "This shouldn't surprise you at all, and what's more, I know why you came." He invited the king back to his home. Stepping inside, the tzaddik told his wife that they had an esteemed guest, and that they should honor him by setting out the best food and drink they could, whatever it was. His wife replied that, in fact, there simply was nothing to offer him. So he sent her out to a store and asked her to borrow a hand mirror there. She brought back the mirror, and the tzaddik turned to the king, saying, "Your Royal Highness, gaze into this mirror, and you'll see something." The king gazed into the mirror and saw in it the entire world. "What do you see?" the tzaddik asked. "I see the whole world," replied the king. "Now think just of your kingdom," said the tzaddik. The king gazed into the mirror again. "Now what do you see?" "I see my kingdom," said the king. "Now think just of the capital city," said the tzaddik. And he asked, "What do you see now?" "I see my palace." "Now just think of your chambers in the palace. What do you see?" "I see the prime minister sitting in my chambers on my own chair," replied the king. "And next to him sits my wife, the queen." "Listen to what they're saying," urged the tzaddik. The king bent his ear to the mirror and listened, and he heard them plotting to bring down the old king and seat the prime minister upon his throne. The tzaddik looked at the king's face and saw that it had turned deathly pale. The tzaddik asked, "Your Highness, what is the punishment for plotting against the life of the king?" "A rebel against the king is liable for the death penalty," replied the king. The tzaddik instructed the king to gaze into the mirror once more, and just then he saw in the glass the prime minister's dead body. The tzaddik took the mirror, hurled it to the ground, and shattered it in pieces. "Now you know what's going on in the palace," said the tzaddik to the king. "Go home, make a ball there, and don't sit down at the table until I arrive. And I'll ask of you one thing more. Don't sign any piece of paper until that time either." The king was beside himself with wonder. "I see," said the king to the tzaddik, "that you are a great and holy man. Help me to understand one thing. Why are you so poor? After all, you were born under the same stars as I was." And the tzaddik smiled and answered, "You, your Royal Highness, are rich in belongings. I am rich in my Torah." And the king parted and set out for home. Now let's see, what was going on in the capital while the king was away? When the queen saw the prime minister struck dead, she was very frightened and decided to cover up the whole thing. She had a loyal servant whom she summoned and swore to secrecy. She ordered him to carry the dead body down to the cellar and bury it there, among the casks of wine. By the next morning, people had begun to notice that the prime minister was missing. They searched for him. Nothing. They started to ask around and investigate, but no one knew anything. Since Passover was approaching, the courtiers reasoned that maybe Jews had killed him because Christians used to not trust Jews. So the representatives of the Jewish community were brought into court and told that they must produce the guilty party, and if not, the Jews would be punished. The Jews swore they knew nothing. No one believed their oath, but in the court pronounced all Jews guilty of murder and handed down the following sentence: Jews must gather together in one place, shut their eyes, and form a line, and they would be punished. Their belongings would be taken and divided up, and those Jews who remained would have to take their clothes off, shave their beards on one side, and be chased out of town by mounted soldiers. This was all written down as a royal edict, and they waited only for the king to sign it. When the king returned from his journey, the members of his entourage came to him and recounted the story of how Jews had killed the prime minister. And they held out the document for him to sign. And the king said, "We should set this aside for several days," for he wanted to celebrate with a ball in honor of his birthday. On the appointed day, the richest men and leading citizens of the whole land gathered in the place, and a ball was arranged with splendor beyond compare. They danced and leapt, played and sang, and they ate and drank the finest and best. Only one person felt like an outsider at the celebration. That was the king. He wandered around the halls, preoccupied, tasting nothing. Everyone wondered, what could this be about? Everyone supposed that he felt the way because of the sudden death of his minister, who the king had been served by so long and so loyally. And when the ball was in full swing, an old Jew with a gray beard, dressed in rags with a sack on his back, appeared suddenly at the door. No one had noticed how or whence he had come. There was a commotion. How did a Jew get in here to the king's ball? But soon everyone was stunned, for the king himself went over to the poor Jew, led him to the table, and seated him right next to his own place. Everyone watched and wondered what was going on. And the king was instantly transformed. His sorrow was gone, and a radiant smile shone on his face. The choicest delicacies were brought to the table, and only now did the celebration truly begin. The old man didn't so much as glance at the delicacies. After the meal, the document was brought to the king for his signature. He set the paper aside and ordered his servants to bring in the best wine from his cellars. They brought him a cask of the finest wine. The king passed the first cup to the old man. The tzaddik sniffed at it and said, "It smells of a carcass." The king held it to his lips and said, "Yes, indeed, it smells like a carcass." Everyone tried it. When the king says it, there's no doubt he's right. It remained only to check the cellar and see the wine cask had been stored. So they went down to the cellar, but found nothing, just cask after cask. The king commanded them to search underneath the casks. They looked and saw fresh earth. After digging a bit, they found the body of the minister. They came out and told the king. A loud clamor, a wild din arose among the assembled. The king wanted to turn to the tzaddik for advice, but he wasn't there. He disappeared. It remains only to add that the king never did sign that punishment warrant, and the Jews observed a joyful and happy Passover. Kind of a wild story, right? So it's important to know that even today, there are people who really don't like Jews. And sometimes there's not much that we can do about it other than to remember that people are prejudiced for reasons that really aren't good. And the best thing that we can do sometimes is to be who we are and to be the best versions of who we can be. And sometimes that's all we can do. So I hope that no matter what happens, you'll continue to be the best you can be. And to think about all those things that are important, all those Jewish ideas of tikkun olam and of tzedakah, of charity and chesed, loving kindness, and continue to do those things. And since it's Shabbat, we should maybe take a break from some of the sad thoughts and celebrate a little bit of Shabbat. So I hope that you have something to drink, cup of grape juice maybe, cup of juice, something healthy maybe to drink. And if you don't have candles, but you have little carrot sticks around, you can use that. I have, as I always do, my wooden set with my wooden wine cup and my wooden candles and my wooden challah. And I even have a wooden challah knife that doesn't really cut the challah because it's wooden challah too. But here's my wooden challah and my wooden challah knife. Doesn't really do anything. And so we'll say blessing over the candles. Nivarech et haor ba'olam, nivarech et haor ba'adam, nivarech et haor shel Shabbat. Let us bless the light in the world. Let us bless the light in humanity. Let us bless the light of Shabbat. Nivarech et yotrei borei pri hagafen. Let us bless those who make the fruit of the vine. And for challah, if you have it, bread, crackers, not cake or cookies. That's not really bread, right? I know, it tastes a lot better than bread sometimes to have cake or cookies. Nivarech et hamotziim lechem min haaretz. Let us bless those who bring forth bread from the earth. And we're getting close to time to finish, so we've got one more song to do. And there's a lot of different songs that we could do here. But how many people like matzo ball soup on Shabbat? I like matzo ball soup on Shabbat. So maybe we'll do a song about making matzo ball soup, and that'll be our last song before we close up shop for today, and you go have Shabbat. Okay, so. Put some water in the pot, turn it up till it's nice and hot, get it ready for Shabbat, good Shabbat. Put some water in the pot, stir it up until it's nice and hot, get it ready for Shabbat, good Shabbat. What can we put in the soup? Put some matzo balls in the pot, stir it up until it's nice and hot, get it ready for Shabbat, good Shabbat. What else? What else do you put in your matzo ball soup? Celery? Put some celery in the pot, turn it up until it's nice and hot, get it ready for Shabbat, good Shabbat. How about broth? Put some broth in the pot, stir it up until it's nice and hot, get it ready for Shabbat, good Shabbat. Let's add one more thing. How about noodles? There'd be a lot of carbs in this soup. Put